Yeah, I think one thing that I really like that Pastor Joe talks about. He talks about this like a lot. I think I hear him say like every single time
Yeah,
at the on Sundays. He talks about don't just go through like the motions. Like don't just show up to
he does
church.
say that a lot.
Don't just actually just like go through like the rituals, the routines. Don't just go through these things. Like literally just be intentional in the moment and
Yeah.
think about like the grace, the love, and like what you're really there for. 'Cause I think it's like really key in like picking up your cross because it's almost like it's trying to picture how I can kind of tie those two. It's like you're
You're truly understanding why you're giving up what
you're
you're
only
giving
carrying
up.
a certain amount of weight. You're not trying to bear anymore. You're not trying to like hold on to much more. Like you're like dragging it versus like actually carrying it on your back and like walking more. That's like kind of like the analogy I'm thinking about.
Okay.
I
And
think
what does that look like in terms of what can you carry that will be more, or what can be carrying
like
less?
like being more intentional about like, okay, why am I doing this? What am I here for? And really thinking about like the responsibility that you hold instead of just like going through the motions and the rituals and the routines of like your daily life.
Yeah. No. You know how he said you don't want to carry anything more than what you can bear.
Like you're
Or-
like you're only maintaining like a certain amount of like weight, we'll call it, like a certain amount of like stress in your life. You're not willing to take on much more than that.
Okay.
It's not that you can't bear any more than that. It's the fact that you just don't want to. Like you don't want to take on more responsibility that you're
okay.
being called to
Yeah.
in a way.
Such as like the response or this weight can be, for example, your guilt or your
Well,
sin.
it could be like like what does the cross represent? It represents sacrifice, represents responsibility,
Suffering.
represents a calling, suffering. Like
Yeah.
represents like a bunch of things. Like what it means to really bury the cross, or not bury the cross, bear
bear right.
bear the cross.
Carrying the cross, yeah.
What I really look at it and it really symbolizes for me is like responsibility. Like that's what it really means. Like Jesus had like a responsibility. He had a burden he had to carry. Like and that was the cross.
Yeah.
And all of us, I feel like carries our own crosses through our own responsibilities, and we duck that by just running away from responsibility. I feel like the world is made up in a way where it's meant to be convenient in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To like kind of hinder like your responsibility, like make you be like, oh yeah, you don't have as many responsibilities as you think you do.
Yeah.
Guess where I'm going?
Yeah. So
course.
what you want to add something to it before I ask?
For me, like when I hear picking up the cross is, I feel obviously like within the Christian faith, and like the whole belief is like, I mean, it's pretty clear that picking up the cross is just a sacrificial thing because you're making a lot of things, other things like a secondary thing, and you
Yeah.
don't even pay attention to. One thing, like when I hear picking up a cross, I hear it as like a following the commands and doing things that you are to follow. That for me, that's picking up the cross because you need to pick up that weight because you understand that, for example, forgiving somebody is hard. You understand that going to church and waking up early is hard. You know that reading the Bible is hard. You know that preaching the gospel to people that will like disrespect you is hard. That's a real sacrifice right there.
Yeah.
You're willing to do the things that you are called to do, right? Like if you're not willing to love God and do things for Him,
Yeah.
you're thinking of like Jesus died on the cross and Jesus is Son of God and Jesus is God. That's not going to save you because that is not what's bringing you. That's not what's bringing your heart to Him, right? Your heart is in getting closer to Him. You're just like talking, but you're not doing anything to get you to Him. So that's why I like to always like not differentiate those two. I would never like say you don't need faith or you don't need works. I always put them together because you can't just have one like talk, but not do it. So you need to speak and then you need to do it too.
Yeah.
That way your faith gets stronger there. Because if you're just talking and not doing it, your faith doesn't get strong. Your faith stays at where it is.
Yeah.
The first message that you heard about God, that's where it stays, and it's like almost freezes. Like you already know this. Now there's another step that you need to take. How closer do you want your spirituality to get to God? How perfect do you want to be? How righteous do you want to be? You know what I mean? And that doesn't come without you doing things that God commands you to do. And every single one of them is like should be like stressed out.
Yeah,
Almost.
remember a lot of the times we would talk about the self-improvement stuff. We would mention this so many times is there's only to some extent you can watch videos, you can do your research, you can hear other people talk about their success, how they've done things, how they've developed good habits, all that type of stuff until you start applying it in your life. It's just all like this dopamine that you're getting by listening to these people or hearing their stories, reading, whatever it might be. And when you don't apply that in your life, one, you never experienced what that's like. You can only imagine what it's like. And then when you start applying to those things, that's when you see the real change happen in character. Otherwise, nothing's changing. You're this in one spot of just feeding yourself the information. But this information doesn't stay there. It just goes in and leaves out.
And it's an easy belief too.
Yeah.
Like, like just saying, oh, you just need to do this. Like you need to be motivated. You need to do this. You need to like wake up early and not pick up your phone. This is all good. This is just feeding your brain the things that are just like empty words. Unless when it's put in action, then it's a fulfillment of those words that you preached.
Yeah.
And you believed almost.
Exactly.
So like that could be one way. That's one way that I imagine picking up the cross.
Right. How would you guys say you bear that cross that you do not want to pick up, right? Because like Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane where he was literally praying and sweating blood because of the distress that he had and knowing the responsibility. And even he tells Peter that you do not know what I need. You are looking at it from a human perspective. I'm paraphrasing him. You're looking at it from a human perspective on what I need to do, but you don't understand the perspective of God on what he needs to do for mankind, which was, take on the sin of the world. Yeah. That was difficult. So you see him going through that in the Garden of Gethsemane is him not wanting to do it, but him knowing he needs to do it. And then the decision he makes is obviously, and gets that strength to defeat the evil by doing it. Because you see Satan tempting him, saying, "How are you going to do this? Do you see the weight of the world? Do you see the weight of the sin that these people have committed?" He says, "You can't do it." He's trying to tempt him to not take up on that cross because the devil knows that when Jesus will,
he knows that's the very thing that separates us from
there you
God.
go. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. He knows that. So the bridge that Jesus needs to build is the exact bridge that the Satan doesn't want him building. Right. So he does it anyway because of the greater cause.